Welcome to our today. I'm Sophia, piloting to the universe of Chinese. Let's continue exploring the contemporary, newly minted Chinese expressions. And like everything, the Chinese expressions, new expressions keep emerging when enough of the population adopt that, and then it becomes like part of a vocabulary. So here are this month in December, we dedicate to new expressions, and we kind of see language in the making. It keeps growing as a vocabulary because we, as humans, keeps facing, especially a kind of speed up that we need to find new expressions to describe our new realities. Okay, 内容过于真实 is today's expression. You can see 6 characters. If you have been watching the channel for a while, you know that Chinese expressions, especially the fixed expressions, mostly are 4 characters, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Chinese somehow was very in line with 4 character expressions. And my theory is probably 4 is easier to remember, easier to pronounce in one breath. Like you say 4 characters, it's almost like 4 syllables in Chinese, in English, because Chinese each is a monosyllable. Each character is 1 syllable, and 4 of them is easier to remember. It's almost like 1 word in English, right? So 6 is a little bit over. It's almost like a sentence, like a short sentence, but it's not the habitually or classical way Chinese expressed by 4 character formation. Okay, 内容过于真实. Let's look at not simplified, not traditional, but all the way to 2,000 years ago when Chinese was first standardized. That's what we call seal script language. As you can see, it's not digitized, so I don't have it. I cannot key in computer and type out this. I have to screenshot and crop out each one. But each one got a ton of details that eventually got diluted or de-emphasized or omitted, like eventually lost them. But by going as far as our first standardized dictionary, so to speak, then we can see a little bit more of what Chinese, when it first started, what visually it expressed. And eventually over time, meanings got expanded, got inflated, got transferred. So it got more kind of a distortion down the history. So go back to 2,000 years ago, we have a better chance of hitting the original meaning. Therefore, we have a better understanding these days how we keep using these expressions, where that come from. Okay, 内容过于真实, 6 characters. We can divide them into 3 groups. Every 2 character forms 1 concept. 内容 is a Chinese way to say content. So it's English content. So basically it's a Chinese, what is content in English? Is what's contained in your message. And very often content, well, it can be something in a package, in a bottle, but in today's social media age, content is simply the message contained in there, regardless of what format, what packaging. What's the message, the storytelling, the gist of the idea? That's content. And this, I didn't track back exactly like who translate content as 内容, but we're giving the idea almost like 容 is a container. What's contained within. So there is this concept of container versus what's inside the container. What's inside the container? This container, we can view it as a medium, a vehicle, a package, right? And what's inside is what I want to deliver. And that's the content. So 内 expressed by this big arch with this shape. That means this thing is entering into this space. So we basically use an arch to give it a sense of separation of spaces. The external, Chinese, because it's 2-dimensional, right? sometimes cannot express too complicated things that we can view from different perspectives. So sometimes it's a little bit arbitrary. Like when we draw this arch, we have the sense of a separation of space. The outer be like on top and out of this arch would be exterior outside. And then we have this, kind of a box in. And you may say, why at the bottom is open? Well, this 2D world is kind of similar to our physical world because at the bottom it's ground and we didn't draw out the ground. But normally, at least back then, the technology doesn't really have the ground like easily tunnel through or something like that, right? So the ground is implied in there, that's secure, but only the big arch, it's like a shelter all around. And when we have this symbol, that means entering inside that place. And so this means within. And the rong, a similar arch, right? But with a chimney on top. So that's human shelter. And then below here, the rest of it with these are mountain water trickling through the mountains. So these 4 strokes, kind of a repeated pattern and kind of symmetrical, shows you the water in the mountain. And then at the bottom is the mouse symbol. So the mouse the mouse symbol actually came from a container. It's a pot. And besides this big arch with a chimney thing, the rest of them means the valley. And the valley is the mouth to a space where the waters are going to trickling down and forms just a flat area. And that's where, I guess, good for crops. So this valley paired with the human shelter, that means that gives you the sense of contained, because shelter gives you a separation of unprotected versus protected space. That is your private space. And this valley gives you the sense of it's spacious. Therefore, all the waters from mountain trickling down, either above the ground, streams or creeks, or underground water, which is kind of an intricate waterway underground that we don't get to see on the surface, but definitely is seeping through different tunnels under the mountain surface, right? All that trickling down through gravity to the entry to the mountain range, and that's the valley. And the valley gives it a sense of it's spacious as well. So both the valley and the human shelter give it a sense of it's a container, it's spacious. Okay, so 内容 means in today's lingo would be what's contained within. It's almost like a definition, right? What's contained within. So we get rid of the packaging, the frills, and then we get to see what's the essence, what's the message. All right. 过与过, we have the left side with the walking symbol, which is made of the right foot in particular. So this kind of cactus looking thing is a Chinese abstraction of human foot. Right foot. This shape is the big toe, and then we have the middle toes, like 3 middle toes, and then we have a pinky toe on the side sticking out, and then this is the sole of the foot. So the foot by itself means standing still, but we add 3 strokes on top of it, and these 3 strokes are made of the left foot steps. So these are footprints. When we have the foot, right foot plus the left footprint together, it means walking. We have what's made, like give you the explicitly what make those footprints and the result of those footprints. So it's guaranteed, it's walking, it's human foot walking. Okay. And then the right side is on the top is kind of a kneecap. And then the bottom also arch thing is an abstraction of like human bone. So together is a joint of the knee area. And then in the middle, just like the mouse symbol over here is the same mouse symbol. Together, it means the mouse is not centered. is slanted mouth. Okay, slanted mouth. Okay, here I have to use some imagination of why this kneecap joint paired with the mouth symbol means the mouth is slanted. I'm thinking probably the ancient language creator viewed the knee as a asymmetrical thing because this joint can only bend one way. Your knee can only bend backwards. You cannot bend it front. So it's asymmetrically joint. And so paired with mouth, that means something to do with the mouth doesn't, it loses its symmetry. It's not symmetrical. So the mouth not symmetrical, paired with walking symbol, it becomes like almost like over walking. You overdid it. And oftentimes when English we say do, right? Chinese use do, use practice, express the practice concept with walking. So we kind of like English talk the talk, walk the walk, and English in this case use walk to generalize into all kinds of behavior, not just walking, right? So Chinese explicitly here use walking symbol means when you do something, it's asymmetrical, meaning you overdid it, and therefore it's more. Okay, then it's this two horizontal line. We can view it as heaven and earth. That's simplification, super simplification for Western ear because heaven and earth, easy to understand. And then we have this puff of air that's supposed to from human lungs. Chinese express the world, created the language for the use of humans to express the human experience. And it's a first person perspective. That means the user of the language is viewing from the bottom of the frame. So we are kind of standing here. If you look at it as a map, we're standing at the bottom of this frame. And this ear coming from us, the language user and reader as well, right? Either writer or reader, the language user puffing this air from the bottom of the screen. And this ear coming out to heaven and earth is the Chinese way to express here and now. It's kind of the contemporaries act, like right, pin down the spatial and probably temporal as well on the whole space temporal coordinate. So here and now, that's what we're talking about. And then when we think about this yu as here and now, and that paired with guo, it's kind of equivalent to English more than, because yu means here and now. That means this is the benchmark compared to here and now. And when you have this overdo, overwalk, that means more than here and now. And here now simply is the unsaid benchmark of things. Because when you say more than, you're comparing it with something, right? And Chinese simply express it as you, like point down here and now as the comparison point. Okay, 真实, 真 made of 4 parts. Okay, on the top, it looks like a knife, but some other scholars also say this is number 10, which is kind of a cross symbol. That's the roping technology to mark number 10, because below 10, we can use our digits. Once it's reached 10, we tie a knot on the rope as a permanent record keeping. And then we have this oval shape with 2 horizontal lines in it. That's Chinese eyeball symbol. 10 pair of eyes. And then we have this lower ground symbol. Chinese are leftward facing or leftward orienting culture and language. So when we express high ground, it's top left corner, low ground, top left corner. So always, bottom left corner. So always is on the left side because the language default, you are facing toward the left. Therefore, word creation in this language are facing toward the left. It's always the left corner. So here, bottom left corner means the ground level. 10 eyeballs looking at the ground, basically, right? And then we have the 2 dangly feet. Okay, this is a little bit of stretch. But according to scholars, it's not just my imagination. Scholars have to interpret like what those two lines about. So these lines, some people say this is another like dangling feet, symbolize walking, symbolize practicing. So viewing something is one thing with eyeballs in there. That means observation, means understanding. But you have to practice, you have to do it. As I said, Chinese express do with walking. So you have to walk what 10 pair of eyeballs are looking at the ground. And that's how Chinese express truth. I have a whole episode talking about truth. This is a very condensed kind of world view of what is regarded as truth. It's not individual eyeballs. It has to be a kind of a consensus among different observation angles, point of views. So it's kind of the bias process because everybody born with a certain set of biases, right? 10 eyeballs looking at this ground truth and practice based on your observation like that. That's how Chinese define what is truth, what is real. Okay. Solid. Okay, solid is actually expressed by you have money, you're rich, you're wealthy. How Chinese express wealthy? It's this human shelter with a chimney, just like Rome, same structure, right? It's pronounced as mian. It doesn't exist on its own. It's always part of some other story. Besides this frame, what's inside there is the currency symbol, which is a cowrie shell. That used to be the currency form in ancient times before like central government or central bank even in today. It was all kind of came along in history, but language existed before these institutions was ever invented. So cowrie shells used to be the currency. And how Chinese, well, we can view it as today's dollar sign. When we see that, we see money. We see the carrier of money, as wealth. Okay, and then the top, this oval shape kind of a cut through, and then with a string horizontally connecting. So that's a Chinese way of kind of when we have coins, Chinese poke a hole in the middle of the coin. And then we put a string through it. So instead of a kind of today's, when you get a quarters from bank, it is rolled into a paper roll, right? So ancient times, the Chinese solution was use a string, go through the central rectangular tiny little hole so that all the coins stay together on the same string. And this describes that visually. So that stack of coins back then. So apparently if it's coins, that means the central government issued small value money or denotation money. Versus at the bottom is a even before then, but eventually it's just like the dollar sign. Later economies or societies, even if they have a central bank issued money, they still use this cowrie shell symbol to symbolize money. So inside, the way to store money, put coins together, or the ancient money symbol together means wealth. And wealth under the private shelter is how Chinese express solid. It's this solid means well, like financially solid, and also means once you decide to do something, you have to fund it. It's kind of like you have as a consumer in today's consumer economy. When you believe in something, you pay for it. That's the ultimate vote from you. If you really like something, you vote with your money. And that is a solid thing. Otherwise, it's, lip service or, it's not considered solid. All right. So 真实 together, real solid is a Chinese way to say it's real or realistic. So 内容过于真实 means the content is more than, it's like overdid it, like over real. Not a super real, not surreal, but it's like too realistic. So basically, it's a Chinese way, contemporary way to say, what I'm going to show you is really heartbreaking. It's too realistic because oftentimes when, especially the mainstream media in the Chinese context, okay, mainstream media would sing songs about how this country is doing well, how the government is doing a great job. So those are propaganda. Those are surface value, like unreal depiction of what's happening. But when the individual influencers are telling you that their story is going to be too real or too realistic, then you're going to prepare for some sad, heartbreaking moments that the story is going to bring you. So that's long-winded, and I appreciate that you stick with me. It's really hard for me to get this whole message across, but that's a commonly kind of a warning message in today's social media use. 内容过于真实. Thank you for your time. See you another day.